No, and it's crazy, like all these tools that you can use for Amazon, and you just keep checking boxes and boxes, and you're just giving the algorithm more, I would say, more reasons to rank you higher in the best way possible. So sellers, if you're not using A plus and you have brand registry, obviously, please, get in contact with us. We'll give you a really good discount. But we just want you to win because if you win, we win. And you have to remember that the content is the listing. There's literally you can have the best product in the market, but if your images are not converting, if your images are not driving traffic, if your PPC is not good, there's so many things that go into it. I understand. But the content is the listing. At the end of the day, that is your virtual shelf. And if that's not doing good, like there's no point on really on selling on Amazon because the competition is fierce. Before you can start selling on Amazon with a couple $1,000s for a private label. I don't think that's the case anymore. Just shipping costs went through the roof. So definitely the content is the listing, guys. I can't stress this enough. I don't know if we got Anthony ready with the polls. Yeah, we got it. Okay, let's
Yeah,
go.
let me show some because I just love this. And again, like the reason that look, the creative was always good, and I can't speak to that enough. Like Raphael, the video that your team put out, it was just so freaking top notch. And you got to think too, this is a brand that like is a brand new brand. It hasn't existed. It was a brand new launch. And I think the goal with a lot of these things, and where I've seen the sellers that have the most success, is people look at it and they think like, okay, I think I've heard of this brand before. Of course, they've never heard of it. It's only been around for a few months, but it has the look and feel of a brand that's really been around a lot longer. I'm going to share my screen though, and I'm going to this is so cool for me to see. These are just a few polls. Like I said, there's like 5 or 6 pages of polls just in the account to go through. And so I'm just going to go through a few of the images, right? Like this is just so interesting because this was one graphic that started out. I don't even remember what the point was. I think it was going to have some copy on it. And I think we have the more developed graphic, but you can see here, like these different concepts that they're playing around with, because they're basically showing that it comes in a 3-pack. And so here you can see like, we've got some inspiration here from like the roof of the Sistine Chapel, like someone handing this, right? And we've got it just on the white background. Then we're showing some different ethnicities here. This is the winner. And then so they take these, like they know that they're not going to use this concept, but there's something in his brain that's like, this is kind of interesting, like maybe handing it to someone. And
yeah.
So
it's so funny to see this.
I saw that. I'm like, where do you come up with this stuff? Like, it's just like you have it. Of course, this isn't going to be what you're going to use, but you're just throwing it in there. Just because there might be something salvageable. Like
oh my God. This is so funny, man. Crazy. I don't even remember about this, to be honest.
And then so what do we do, right? Like we take what we learn from here. People are liking this because it's showing the 3 bottles. It's showing some different diversity in the skin color. And then so it's like, okay, now we've taken this, we've read the feedback about what people like, and then now we're going to go add it on the blue background, but then not just stop there, come up with a few different colors, like this dark
shades,
dark
yeah. Because all these little things, matter. Like the dark shake in the top could make you actually, feel like it's not good enough. It's not clean enough. There's so many things that really go into it. Even if it comes from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top, and that does influence a buyer's decision. It does make him feel like, hey, is this good for me or is it not good for me? So I would say the devil is in the details. So yeah, definitely try things out, guys.
Okay, I want to show another one. One of the other objectives for the teams was to go and create different types of product packaging, right? And so I think the original box that was started with was a square box. And so you can see here, again, if you go between the details of each of these packaging, they're very, very similar, but there's small nuanced details, whether it's the contrast that's making it pop a little bit more, adding in the teeth, right? Like all of these different things. And so they start here, they figure out this is the winner. Then they come up with a totally different design. And they're like, what if, because it's called Germ Shark, what if we make this look like a shark fin? Right? So totally different out of the box idea. One of these is going to be used. One of them is not going to be used, but they're still going through that process of like, let's just throw things to the wall. Let's see what sticks.
Yeah, I remember when they came up with the shark fin idea, I was like, okay, sure, why not? I mean, what's the worst gonna happen? Yeah, germ shark fin. Yeah, let's just do it. It's like the packaging and all this. I'm like, you're right, but let's just go with it. Let's see how it works. Let's see what comes up with it.
And yeah, and so this is where we end up here, like very, very cool. And look, maybe the thing is at the end of the day, you really wouldn't ship it in this packaging because you're going to lose a lot of that dimensional volume on the top. But the point is, like, people like the different box shapes. So maybe you go back, you find out that this is going to add too much on your fulfillment costs to really make this profitable. And so now it's like we're going to slim down that fin and make it much shorter, so it's still, still going to fit, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that we were thinking is like making the shark fin in a way that if you cross them together and like you flip one and they fit, and they're instead of being a fin, it's like a rectangle, you know? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, so that's one of the things we were thinking of before we even obviously if the client wants to go throughout the whole thing with this.
Okay, Raphael, there's just a couple more that I want to show that I think are really, really good. This one was probably one of my favorites, and I use this as an example like over and over again throughout my presentations because this was the first time I had really seen it done. And so one of the things they had to do is go and create lifestyle images and show the different scenarios where people were going to use this. We said one, we wanted to be like in an indoor environment, right? Like, and then one like in an outdoor environment, right? And again, remember the whole point of this is flow of information. What can we get to click in someone's brain about the areas they should be using this? And so, oh, this one was actually for the travel size. Like we wanted to show that it was small and compact. Yeah. And so before the lifestyle shoot even happens, Raphael and his team go and they say, okay, like which one of these pegs would be most helpful in helping you understand the travel size of this? And so I couldn't find the actual final image of this, but basically it's like they find out that this is the winner, this woman pulling it out of the purse with the really nice nails. But then the amazing part is they figured out that this is the winner. And then the image that they created in their lifestyle shoot looked even better. Like the nails looked really good. She was pulling it out of the bottle. The purse looked even better. And so again, you want to think like, what's the most relevant application that someone's going to have to emphasize that this is a travel size hand sanitizer? And this was the one that clicked. And then again, they did it here with like, okay, basically what this was for the outdoor or public location, like which one of these best fits? And it's like, is someone going to spray it on before they use the elevator? Are they going to be using a grocery cart? And it was very interesting because when the judges were going through and they were evaluating the photos, like two of the other teams, they were showing applications, like people using this in places that just didn't make sense. Like it just wasn't logical. Like option A really makes sense. You're going to use hand sanitizer while being in a grocery store. But like, are you really going to put on hand sanitizer before you touch the elevator button? Like nobody really does that, right?
Probably use the key or something.
Yeah. And then like, this is the last one I want to show here. But again, it's like, this is for this indoor private location. And so they're going and figuring out like, okay, is someone going to put on the hand sanitizer before they open the car door, like, or after they open the car door, before they open it, or inside their car? Like probably inside the car, right? And so they Share Studio, they figured this out first. And then they went through and said, okay, now that we know what's the ideal scenario, how should the graphic actually look? Like we've optimized for the flow of information. Now we're going to optimize for visual appeal. And again, these are all super similar, the same copy, just slightly different graphics on it, but it's such a big difference in the end, right?
No, man, you could have said it a better way, to be honest. This is just leave it up for a little bit, but this is so important. This is actually the way that we approach every situation when we do analysis for our brand. So what I try to tell all my clients or everybody that I meet is that everybody can take pretty pictures, to be honest. Like right now in this digital age, like anybody can take really good pictures. You don't have to be an experienced filmmaker to take a really good picture. You don't have to be a certified drone pilot to take amazing footage from Hawaii, right? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
so having all this gear, it allows you to really take on really good content, but doesn't mean that the content is gonna be effective. And the only way to get effective content is to analyze and see what's really gonna help buyers make that buying decision. And this is so important, how you just structure it, because that was exactly the way that we structured. Like, okay, guys, let's see, in what scenario would the person really be using it? Is he going to be using an elevator? Is he if he lives in a building, is he going to be using it every time he gets off and off the elevator? Is it really? But he goes to a supermarket, or she goes to a supermarket once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Maybe he uses more there. So we competed that. We put it against each other, and then we saw what was going to win, as well as for the car. If you like travel and commute with your car, which is what I do, almost every day. In what situation with a car would you use it? So I would say that, the content is the listening again. Like, I cannot make this stress enough, but to have effective content, you really need to have data. We are extremely data driven, and this tool has been amazing so far. We've used it. We've continued, like, in all of our quotes, we already put in a budget for PickFu. That's how important it is for us. Like, we don't launch anything unless the client doesn't really want to pay for it. But we literally ask them and like, hey, we should definitely do this, because if your listing wins, we're gonna win. The more money you make, the more referrals you're gonna give us, the more you're gonna come back to us. So we can't stress enough. We run PickFu as much as we can. And yeah, definitely recommend it. Anthony, yeah, go ahead.
And I just want to say, I think you make a really good point there, right? Like, camera equipment is better than it's ever been ever, right? Like, if you compare the technology we have just on our phone, you can shoot shots that are easily better than you could do a decade ago being a professional. Like, it's super easy. The thing I see a lot of the time, and a lot of agencies that aren't up to the level of Share It Studio, is they're able to deliver really good photos, really good designs. And I've seen firsthand, right? I've come up with things that even have been tested, and then I upload them into a listing, and I think for sure conversion rate's going to go up. But it just doesn't work like that. What looks the best always isn't what converts the best, and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes things that look not good at all, right, they convert really, really well. But it's because on Amazon, people, like, if you can do both, right, it's really good, and you should focus on that flow of information first before the visual part. If you can do both, you're going to win for sure. But a lot of people are just focusing on what looks good. They hire an agency, they hire their friend who's really good at photography, and they come up with these things that they look good, but they're not logical. And there's something in the brain, especially when you're scanning quickly, that if it's not logical and it doesn't click, the person isn't going to try to figure it out. They're not going to think like, maybe I do actually use the hand sanitizer before I press the elevator button. There's something in their brain that clicks, and they're like, this isn't right. Right? This isn't a real scenario. And then what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. They're going to go to one of the other competitors' listings, and someone who actually does a better job of making it click in their brain. Those are the people who get conversions, right? It's that simple. And I think a lot of sellers are very attached to the way something looks, and they're like, oh no, the customer is going to try to figure this out. It's like, that's why your conversion rate's so low. They don't figure it out. They're just going to find someone who does a better job.